My daughter looked me straight in the eyes and said something I never thought I would hear. Mom, you are getting too old to make decisions for yourself. I was 71 years old. I had lived in the same house for 38 years. I had paid every mortgage payment. I had raised my daughter under that roof. And now she was standing in my kitchen telling me that the house did not really belong to me anymore. Her husband stood behind her. He had a folder in his hands. I knew exactly what was inside. Papers, forms, legal documents, and one very dangerous word. Incapacity. My daughter smiled at me. It was not the smile of a child who was worried about her mother. It was the smile of someone who believed the ending had already been written. She said she only wanted to help me. She said I was forgetting things. She said I should let her manage my money. She said I should move into a small assisted living apartment. Then she pointed toward the folder. All you have to do is sign. I looked at the papers. Then I looked at my daughter. Then I smiled, because there was one thing they did not know. I had already discovered what they were planning. And I had spent the last 3 weeks preparing for this exact moment. My name is Margaret, and this is the story of the day my own daughter tried to take my home. It started months earlier. At first the changes were small. My daughter Emily began calling me more often. She would ask the same questions again and again. Did you pay the electric bill? Did you take your medicine? Did you remember your doctor's appointment? Did you lock the back door? At first I thought she was being caring. She was my daughter. I wanted to believe she was looking after me. Then the questions changed. She started asking about my bank. She wanted to know how much money I had saved. She wanted to know whether the house was completely paid off. She wanted to know who was listed on my accounts. She asked what would happen to the house if something happened to me. I answered some questions. I refused others. That was when her voice changed. Mom, you need to trust me. I remember looking at her and thinking about the little girl who used to sleep beside me during thunderstorms. The little girl who held my hand when we crossed the street. The little girl who once told me that she would take care of me when I became old. I never imagined that promise would become a threat. A few weeks later Emily brought her husband Daniel to my house. Daniel was carrying a notebook. He sat at my dining table and started asking questions. When was the last time you saw your doctor? Do you ever forget appointments? Do you have trouble paying bills? Do you sometimes lose your keys? I laughed. I told him everyone loses their keys. He did not laugh. He wrote something down. That night I could not sleep. Something felt wrong, not because I was afraid of getting old. I was afraid of being declared incapable by people who wanted control. The next morning I called my attorney. Her name was Susan. I had known her for years. She listened carefully. Then she asked me one question. Margaret, have you signed anything? No. Good. Do not sign anything. That conversation changed everything. Susan told me to check my financial accounts. She told me to review my property records. She told me to watch for unusual activity. I followed every instruction. 3 days later I found something that made my stomach drop. Someone had requested information about my mortgage history. Someone had also checked whether my house could be used as collateral. I knew I had not done it. I knew my attorney had not done it. That left only two possibilities. Someone had made a mistake. Or someone was planning something. I chose to believe it was a mistake. Until I found the email. It was on an old family computer. My daughter had forgotten to log out. I was not trying to spy on her. I was looking for a photograph of my granddaughter. Then I saw the email. The subject line said, Mom's house. I opened it. There were several messages between Emily and Daniel. They talked about my house. They talked about selling it. They talked about my retirement savings. They talked about how much money they could make. Then I saw a sentence that made my hands go cold. We just need the doctor to agree that she cannot manage things anymore. I read it twice. Then a third time. My daughter was not worried about me. She was building a case against me. I closed the computer. I sat in my chair. And I cried. Not because I was losing my house. Not because I was afraid of being alone. I cried because the little girl who once promised to protect me had become the person I needed protection from. But I did not call her. I did not confront her. I did not scream. I did something else. I got prepared. The next morning I moved my important documents. I made copies of my property deed. I copied my bank statements. I copied my retirement documents. I copied my insurance information. I reviewed every beneficiary. I changed every password. I opened a separate account. I turned on account alerts. I made sure my attorney had copies of everything. Then I did one more thing. I started keeping a journal. Every strange conversation went into that journal. Every request for money. Every comment about my memory. Every time Emily told me that I was too old to understand something. I wrote it down. Date, time, exact words. Nothing dramatic, just facts. Facts have a strange kind of power. They do not need to shout. They simply wait. 2 weeks later Emily came to my house. She brought Daniel with her. This time they were not smiling. Emily sat across from me. Mom, we need to talk. I put my coffee down. About what? Your future. I almost laughed. My future had suddenly become very important to them. She told me that I should consider moving. She said the house was too much for me. She said the stairs were dangerous. She said the neighborhood was getting expensive. Then Daniel opened his folder. He placed several papers on the table. Emily pushed them toward me. These will make everything easier. I looked at the first page. It was a power of attorney. The second page gave Emily authority over my finances. The third page gave her control over property decisions. The fourth page mentioned medical decisions. I looked up. Why would I sign this? Emily sighed. Because you are getting older. I stayed quiet. She continued. You cannot keep pretending that you are 25. I looked at Daniel. He would not meet my eyes. Then Emily said something I will never forget. Mom, if you refuse to cooperate, then we may have to prove that you are not capable of making decisions anymore. There it was. The threat. The thing they thought would scare me. Instead it gave me peace. Because now I knew exactly what they were doing. I leaned back. Then I said something that made both of them stop. You should probably read the last page. Emily frowned. What last page? I smiled. The one you forgot to remove. Daniel's face changed. Emily grabbed the papers. She turned through them. Nothing. Then I reached into my purse. I pulled out a copy of the email. I placed it on the table. Emily stared at it. Daniel stood up. Where did you get that? I looked at him. That is the wrong question. The right question is why you wrote it. Nobody spoke. Emily started crying. Mom, it is not what you think. I looked at her. It was exactly what I thought. She begged me to listen. She said they were having financial problems. She said they needed help. She said the house was worth a lot of money. Then Daniel interrupted. He told her to stop talking. That was when I understood something. This had never been just my daughter's plan. Her husband had been pushing it too. I stood up. I walked to the front door. Then I opened it. You both need to leave. Emily cried harder. Mom, please. I love you. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said something I wish every parent could remember. Love does not mean giving someone permission to destroy you. She walked out. Daniel followed her. I closed the door. Then I locked it. But I did not know that the real battle had only just begun. Because the next morning my attorney called me. Her voice sounded different. Serious. She told me there was something I needed to know. Emily had already taken another step. And this time she had involved someone outside the family. Someone who could potentially change everything. I sat down. What happened? Susan was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Margaret, someone has scheduled a medical evaluation for you. And the person who arranged it is not you. My heart stopped. Then Susan said the words that changed everything. They are trying to prove you are incapable of managing your own life. I looked toward the locked front door. And suddenly I understood. The papers on my kitchen table were not the beginning of their plan. They were only the part they wanted me to see. The real plan had already started. And I was about to discover just how far my own daughter was willing to go.